Welcome to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. Please subscribe to our channel if you're watching for the first time and click the notification bell, like our videos and share them. All those who support the channel, I want to say thank you wherever you are. May God bless you. Okiya Omutata and a battery of senior lawyers appeared in court today because the Finance Act bill is back in our courts. Now, this case began when Okiya Omutata warned William Ruto in one of the events in Western that if Ruto went ahead and manipulate our parliament to pass the unpopular finance bill Finance Bill 2023, then he promised they would meet in court. True to both of them, William Ruto made good his threat, coerced Parliament, and Parliament passed the Finance Bill 2023. Okiya Omuta also made good his threat and went to the High Court. We still have some lawyers who are very considerate because they understand the plight of Kenyans. And one of the judges suspended the implementation of this bill because it was going to be very injurious to Kenyans. But the Attorney General went to the appellate court and appealed against the ruling of the judge, at the High Court judge. And the judges at the Court of Appeal suspended or put aside the High Court verdict that had suspended the implementation of the finance bill, because the Attorney General was arguing that this was going to stall the operations of the national government. Okiya Omuta was not satisfied with the ruling and he went to the Supreme Court. Anybody who is going to the Supreme Court thinking that he can get justice, if that case is pitting you against the national government, against the executive arm of the government, it's like a wild goose chase, because there is no way the Supreme Court can rule against President William Ruto. And so the 7 judges sitting agreed with the rule at the Court of Appeal. Now, the hearing of the case began today. And if you listened to some of the prayers and arguments, you will agree with me that Okiya Omuta has a watertight case. It is only that this case, Okiya Omuta is really fighting against giants. Because you all understand by now, for those who follow this channel, that the Finance Bill 2023 is the culmination of an agreement that Ruto did with the Western countries, together with the bodies like the IMF and the World Bank. And so he might not win it because William Ruto is so determined to ensure that this bill goes through, because already it is in course, it is working. There is no way they are going to stop it, because I know people like Meg Whitman are in it. But some of the arguments that I gathered from that session was really very interesting. And I was learning a few things. I'm not an economist. And I learned that all the revenue, whether collected locally or from outside, the money that is collected from, by, or on behalf of the national government goes to a central kitty, a kitty called the Consolidated Fund. All those taxes, wakati unalipa ushuru, it goes to a consolidated fund. There must be another bill and another act that must be discussed, and this is called appropriation bill. And this appropriation bill, according to the economists and lawyers who are arguing, is that an appropriation bill must contain 2 things. There's that part of the estimate on revenue, and the second part is the estimate on expenditure. And the economists and lawyers are arguing that in the Appropriation Act, it lacked the estimate on revenue. It only contained the estimate on expenditure. And according to the articles of the Constitution, an Appropriation Act must contain estimate on revenue and estimate on expenditure. So that is the first thing that happened, and the lawyers are saying that based on that, this whole process of making a budget was and is null and void. Number two, the Constitution is very clear that in the budget making process, it has to be subjected to Parliament. And the word Parliament here does not mean National Assembly. You all know that we passed the new Constitution in the 2010 Constitution. We are now dealing with a bicameral kind of parliament that contains National Assembly and the Senate. And both senators and members of the National Assembly are elected. They are subjected to election equally. In fact, senators would even campaign on even a bigger geographical area, because a constituency compared to a county is much smaller. So the Constitution required that in the process of passing the estimates of the revenue and the estimate of expenditure and passing this finance bill, it was supposed to be subjected to the opinions of the members of the National Assembly and the opinions of the members of the Senate, because when we elect these members of parliament, we give them the mandate to exercise authority on our behalf. Now, based on that, the lawyers are praying that this bill be declared null and void. And there was in fact, about 7 human rights defenders ganged up against this bill, and many other institutions and bodies ganged up because they feel that William Samoei Ruto is fond of this unilateral kind of making decisions and blatantly breaching our constitution, something that people really fought for. Lawyers we had lawyers like Danson Manzo, who submitted to the court that the process of public participation was never done properly. And Otiende Amolo told Parliament, they told the courts that the role of Parliament is sometimes supposed to check the executive. And in fact, in the Senate, it is supposed to defend devolution. But they have become more, they have become more executive than even the executive itself. That is what Otiende was saying. Now, in the Appropriation Act that allows government to spend money from the consolidated account, you must understand that there is money that is supposed to be allocated even to the county level, because we now have devolution. If senators are not included, then it gives William Ruto or the national government an opportunity to use this money the way they like. And this is why you have always seen William Ruto calling people to State House. Every now and then, they go to a particular area, wanasema, kujeni tupange Machakos, kujeni tupange Kisumu. They want all the resources to be consolidated at the national level, so that anybody who wants development then must come and beg. Yet the Constitution is very clear that once this is discussed at this, because senators will always say that they will always look at this amount that is allocated to health, this amount that is allocated to which area, they will always ensure that it is allocated equitably. Now, they were left out intentionally because the national government wanted to use this as a dangling carrot, because you must come and beg them in State House. And so, ladies and gentlemen, Otiende Amolo was praying to the court that we have seen the Kenyan courts staring directly into the eyes of Uhuru Kenyatta and telling him this BBI thing is null and void. Otiende Amolo also reminded them that, courtesy of a progressive effort of lawyers, we have seen the Chief Justice, the former Chief Justice, David Emeritus Maraga, looking at the face of the former president Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, then the deputy president, and telling them that the election that you have been, the victory that you have been given in 2017 election has been rendered null and void. And the courts have proved that sometimes they can be very courageous and stand as defenders of the Constitution. And that is what is being looked at, ladies and gentlemen. But the question is, do you think we have the judges that have got the heart like that of a lion? The only one is David Maraga. Because in the rulings of the BBI and Sakaja and the 2022 verdict of the presidential election were met because William Ruto had formed a friendship with the judiciary. So you will realize that Okiya Omuta has a watertight case, but it will not sail through. In fact, the process that is going on is a mere formality. If you take your time and watch some of the proceedings, you will realize that even if you are not a lawyer, the Finance Bill 2023 was passed in blatant breach of our Constitution, and it needs to be rendered null and void.